Good morning, everyone. This is the Animal Service Center of the Mesilla Valley Board of Directors meeting, Thursday, February 25, 2021 at 9 a.m. The meeting has been called to order at 9:06 a.m. The second item on the agenda is changes to agenda and approval of agenda.
Madam Chair?
Let me, yes.
Would you like to do roll call?
Oh, yes, roll call, please, Mr. Thacker. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair Flores.
Present.
Mr. Vice Chair Sanchez. He is excused today, correct, Madam Chair?
Oh, yes, he's definitely excused.
Okay. Board Member Ellens?
Yes.
Board Member Trujillo? No Board Member Trujillo? Board Member Gondra? Board Member Gondra? Board Member Stuvey?
Yes.
Ex officio Member Enriquez?
Present.
And ex officio Member Quintero?
Present.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have Vice Chair Sanchez is excused and Board Member Trujillo not present.
And Mayor Pro Tem Gandara?
Oh, thank you. Yes, and sorry. Board Member Gondra is also not present.
Okay, we shall proceed. So we do have a quorum and the minutes. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes of January 2021? Are there any, did everyone have an opportunity or do you need a couple of minutes to review them at this time? Does anyone need a few minutes? Speak up or forever hold your peace.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Clint.
for the record, Board Member Gondra just logged on, so she is present.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Sorry, I had computer issues and had to run to the office, so that's why
Oh,
I'm here.
wow. Good thing you live close by, huh? near the office. Yeah, well, welcome. I'm glad you're here, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So the only two people who are absent are Mayor Trujillo and Commissioner Sanchez. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have an opportunity to read the minutes, to review the minutes?
I did, Madam Chair.
Oh, good. So are there any changes?
I don't have none. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't either. I hear, I don't see any hands up. Let me scroll down. So if there are no changes to the minutes, I need a motion for approval, please.
So move, Gandara.
Second,
Thank you. Second?
Second, Abeta.
Thank you. It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Gandara and seconded by Councilor Abeta Stuvey to approve the minutes. Hearing no objections. Any objections? Hearing no objections, I hereby, the minutes are hereby approved. Next.
Would you like me to take roll on that, Madam Chair?
Oh, perdón. Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you, Clint. Thank you, Mr. Thacker.
Madam Chair Flores?
Yes.
Board Member Ellens?
Yes.
Board Member Gondra?
Yes.
And Board Member Stuvey?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Wonderful. Okay. Okay. And next item, item 4 on the agenda, reports, presentations, city and county ACO reports by Mr. Thacker.
Not by me, Madam Chair.
Who? Oh, perdón, ACO reports. So is Mary Lou here today? I'm sorry.
I know, but
Gino's here.
Member Quintero has somebody there to do it.
Oh, someone's here to do ACO wards? Okay.
That's correct. Officer Gwyneth Kingsley is going to present in place of Miss Ward. Understand that this is our first time sharing files, so give us a minute. We're going to go ahead and do what we have to do here. And then I'm going to step away, and then Officer Kingsley is going to be sitting where I'm sitting right now.
Great. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Jeannie. And we'll be patient.
Okay. You've got to be, because we're both low tech.
Right.
All right. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, it's beautiful.
Okay, I'm going to change places with Officer Kingsley, and she is going to take over from here.
Thank you.
Try and make it full screen.
Well, I don't know how to make it full screen.
I do. Okay, I can push the button. I'm just gonna try and make it full screen here. There we go.
Okay.
You got it? There it is. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Gwen Kingsley. We'll just get right into it, essentially. So this is going to be the report for last month, and we had 291 reported strays. Of those reports, we were able to pick up 167. I'm sorry, I guess I need to learn how to read today. 167 stray animals were picked up. Of those, 31 of them were stray cats, and 136 of them were stray dogs. Now, not included in those numbers is going to be 17 animals that were sick or injured, including 3 cats and 14 dogs, and 7 owner-surrendered animals, which are all going to be dogs. This is going to be the 4-year comparison chart. As you can see, we are way down from where we were last year. We're about half what we were last year with that 291 and 413 last year on the strays. This is going to be the Rto comparison chart. So way down there in the bottom, it's a tiny little piece. It's 16 RTOs for last month. The reason for this drop is likely because we're so short on officers, so we just can't spread the wealth. And we had a significant part of last month where we were responding to emergencies only, so that's going to cut our RTO numbers down as well. Just let me know if I move too fast or anything, because I feel like I'm blowing through it, but I may not be. So not including what we mentioned earlier were the surrenders and the sick and injured animals. We also picked up 7 neglect, abuse, or cruelty animals, and we had 7 animals quarantined over at the ASCMV. This is just a reminder of the geo-districts that we use. I don't know if anybody is new to this or not. She did say that some people may be new to our districts, but this is just a reminder of where everybody is. If you need a second to look at it, just let me know. If not, I'll keep going beyond it. All right, so broken down by district, it looks like we've got 15 dogs that were picked up out of District 1, which is going to be the far north part of the county. District 2 has 14 cats and 10 dogs. That's going to be the Doñana area more so. District 3 has 6 cats and 35 dogs. This is going to be more of a hot zone for us. That's going to be the East Mesa area off of 70. District 4 is also a hot zone for the dogs. It's 2 for cats, 35 dogs. That's going to be the Mesquite down all the way to La Mesa. District 5 is 4 cats, 17 dogs. That's going to be Votto, all the way down to Anthony. And then District 6, that's Santa Teresa area. That's 3 cats and 7 dogs. And then District 7 is Chaparral, and that's going to be 2 cats and 17 dogs. So not super high numbers in those areas. So our dispatch calls to date that we've received through Central was 530. Our self-initiated calls were 121. Our assists are 20, with assisting other officers and other agencies. And then we had 9 follow-ups that we did, which makes our grand total of calls for last month 680 calls for service. These are going to be addressing our 7 owner-released animals. So we had 1 that was aggressive. 2 were due to landlord issues, the owner possibly getting evicted due to having the animals. 2 were because of the animals. 1 is the person themselves were too ill to take care of the animal. And the last one is the animal was pregnant and the owner could not afford care for a pregnant animal. These are our bite calls. We've got 13 bites, exposure to humans. Those account for the 7 quarantined animals at the ASCMV. So 4 of those were home quarantined and 2 of them were never located. Of those 4 home quarantined, that's going to be 3 that were up to date on their vaccinations, and 1 animal that was too young, so that's under 12 weeks of age. They cannot be vaccinated for rabies. In January, we had 3 ACO cases that went to court. Out of the 3 cases, 6 charges came from them. We had 3 bench warrants, 1 deferred sentence, and 2 defendants paid their bench warrant fine. I believe this is the end of her presentation. Do you guys have any questions or anything for me? None? Right,
Officer Kingsley,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm checking to see if anybody has questions, and I was on mute. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. It looks like there aren't any questions. I don't see any hands up. But I have one question for you, Officer Kingsley.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. First of all, thank you very much. And secondly, can you explain what happened on the, I think the cases in court? Can you go back to that slide and explain something?
Let me pull it up again. You pulled it from this one, right, Tina?
Now you cracked it up.
I'm pulling it up. I got it. You guys see it again?
Yes, there it is. Thank you. So, so there were 3 ACO cases went to court, and there were 6 charges. Okay, so there were 3 bench warrants, and so they did, and they all showed up to court, and 1 got a deferred sentence. What is that? Am I correct?
So generally, our bench warrants are served when people do not come to court. Those are failure to appear warrants.
Okay.
More than likely, the deferred sentence had to have shown up because that's how they can get their deferred sentence.
Correct.
These 2 defendants who paid their bench warrant fines, obviously they appeared as well.
I see. So what does it mean when they have a deferred sentence? Do they still have their pet? Do they? Yes.
So a deferred sentence The basic way the deferred sentence works is the person is put on a probation 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It depends on what they agree on through the courts. And then they generally plead guilty or no contest when they get a deferred sentence. And then after that time is over, it's taken off of their record if there is no further violations while they're on that probation.
Okay, and then if there is a further violation, I'm presumably with the same pet, what is the punishment? What is the consequence?
That's going to be a probation violation, and that would have to go through the courts to see how they would want to handle that punishment for the probation violation.
So what happens to the dog, to the pet, or what happens to the owner in that event? Is there jail time? Is it just a bigger fine?
No. There's not jail time unless we're talking something really serious, but no, there's not jail time.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much, Officer Kingsley.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have any other questions or anything for me?
I don't see any hands up. If I'm missing you for some reason, please speak up now. Okay. No further questions. Thank you. Thank you very much, Officer.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Let me get this.
Okay. So we'll move on to Mr. Jimenez, Officer Jimenez.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Gino Jimenez. I'm the Animal Control Supervisor for the City of Las Cruces. Before we begin, I'd like to congratulate Gwen. Good job for your first time. Very good job. So let me share mine. So Madam Chair, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. It's here.
All right. So my report will be for January 2021. For that month, we responded to 470 stray calls. Of those, 261 were GOA, meaning the officer did not make contact with that animal. We were able to apprehend 209. Of those, 173 were impounded at the Animal Service Center. 101 were dogs and 72 were cats. We were successful in field RTOing or returning to their owner 36 of those animals. And we were unsuccessful in returning 6 identified animals. And of those 6 were included in that 173. Here is our reported stray calls for a 3-year comparison. And of course, we start the new year. And thankfully, we're lower than the previous 2 years, so at 470. My next slide is the 3-year field RTO comparison. Like I said in my previous slide, we had 36 successful field RTOs, which puts us right in our average. As historically as we go back, our average is anywhere between 28 to 36. So we're right in our average. 2019 was an exceptionally high year, but of course that's always going to be included in our comparison when we do this one. Reasons for owners releasing the animals for last month, we had 0. And I believe if we go back in December, we also had 0. So these have been exceptional months for us. However, I know already that for this coming month, for when I do my report next month, we've already had a few. So the officers are doing their best to keep the numbers minimal at the service center and only taking in healthy or animals that pose a threat to the community or to the safety of anybody. So thankfully, we've been at 0 for the last couple months. Here is our reasons that we were unable to field RTO. 1 was because the chip information was not updated. 1 was the chip was not registered. And 4 for no contact with the owner by phone or at the residence. And here is my stray map. Let me minimize this one. Is my stray map visible, ma'am? It is, okay.
It is.
So these are the strays that we were responded to for the month of January. As like I've said in the previous months, the blue indicate dogs, the orange indicate cats, and the small little red dots like this one indicate other. And then that could be a squirrel, a rabbit, anything other than a dog or cat, skunk, hawk, anything else. So if there's any questions about the stray map, I can zoom in to a specific area if anybody has any questions or concerns about the map.
I don't see any questions for you.
I have questions.
Yes, and I also see that Councilor Beta-Stuvey put her hand up, but I don't see your, there you are. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Go ahead, Councilor Beta-Stuvey.
Oh, go right ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Gino, I wanted to have you zoom in the 88001, like the Mesquite and the Kilmer area. We've seen an increase in feral cats. Are you showing that?
I am zooming in. Takes a second for the map to catch up, but come on. It gets a little convoluted because of the addresses. If you can see that, it kind of overtakes the map with all the addresses. So give me just a second. So here is, if you can see my cursor, this is the Mesquite Street. And here is Chestnut. Were you talking about a specific area, ma'am? Mesquite and Kilmer?
Yeah, well, Mesquite Historic District.
Okay, let me zoom out a little bit because I think that might help.
And the Mesquite, maybe the Mesquite Street too. I'm getting a lot of calls.
So, come on.
Okay.
So here's Mesquite Street, and it doesn't look like we had very many along Mesquite Street. However, for a point of interest, can you see my cursor? This is one area where last month we did pick up a few. Now, with this map, I'm only pinpointing last month. So if we go back historically, and if I could change the dates for you, you will see that if one area is a hotspot this month, and I zoom back or I go back further dates, you'll see that there'll be maybe more added impounds from that area.
What
Officer
area
Jimenez?
is the hotspot?
Excuse me. Oh, there, he's zooming in.
I'm zooming in.
Thank you.
So right now, you see this address right now, we only had 2 for last month, and these are cats only.
Okay.
Let me zoom out and see if we have any more for this particular, for your district. And how you can tell, and now everybody has access to this map as a read only. So if you do what I'm doing right here and you zoom in and out, you'll see that there looks like a cluster right here where my cursor is.
Right.
So now I can zoom in on that address, and you will see that for last month, this particular address had 10 impounds, 10 cats impounded from this particular address. I think, ma'am, this may be the one that you and I received those emails about. So
Yes.
this is that area of concern.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, Gino.
You're welcome.
And Gino, what is happening? So are you picking them up and taking them, and then once you're called or they trap them, you're picking them up and they're taken to Animal Services Center, and what is happening from that point?
Madam Chair, Mayor Pro Tem. So at this point, we have suspended our trap program because of COVID, and
Right.
upon the request of the Animal Service Center to limit the amount of impounds. So these individuals that are trapping cats are doing it with their own traps. We will still pick up the animal, because if we don't, it now becomes a care and maintenance issue. We can't just leave a trapped cat in there forever without food or water or shelter. So we are obligated to still pick them up. We will then impound them at the service center, and then the disposition of that animal is entirely up to the ASC staff.
Okay. Thank you, Gino.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Madam Chair.
And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Officer Jimenez.
You're welcome.
Councilor Aveda Stuvey.
Thank you, and thank you, Gino. I just wanted to look a little bit actually at the Mesilla Park area. It looked like we did have a few dog issues as well, kind of pop up. That seemed new. I hadn't received any emails about it, but looking in, there was 4 in the area. And if there was any connections or just random events.
Madam Chair, Councilor Stubbe, in your district, you can see right here, we had 1 call in the Agave Spanish Trail area, 4 dogs. And then if we zoom out a little bit and we go a little further north, there's a few right here in the Las Brisas mobile home community.
Okay.
And then 1 right here, right at the edge of the city and county, where Maine and Union meet. And then the last one, I believe, in the Mesilla Park area was for a skunk right here at the Monso Street. So for dogs, they are basically individual calls, one-of-a-kind calls. It's very rare that we get the same call over and over for dogs, unless it's able to escape us or elude us. And then a couple hours later, we get another call from another citizen, and then multiple calls on that same dog because we haven't been able to catch it or capture it.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you, Madam Chair.
And one point of interest, ma'am, for your district is, I know that this was a concern and the Corbett area. And for last month, we caught 2 cats were still impounded from this area, bringing that total for the year to 25 from this 1 residence.
Wow.
Okay. Thank you. I was going to ask, with this, I'm sure we're doing education with this resident, or was this the one that they're not the owners of the cats? Is it the neighbor, one of the neighbors that feeds it, or are they the owner of the animals?
Madam Chair, Councilor Stewie, yes, this is the gentleman whose wife has some pulmonary issues, but yet somebody in the neighborhood continues to feed them, and they congregate on his property and defecate on his lawn, which is making her health conditions worse. So that's why he is trapping these animals.
And now that I think the animals have been attracted to the area, they're going to keep congregating for that to use. Do we have any, and this has been my concern with community cats and others, with a house like this, they're going to keep getting attracted to it because so many cats have used it and sprayed it. And so if we have any cleanup or assistance programs for this type of thing, I mean, it's a real health issue for these people, and they're trying their best to keep their home safe. And this is a situation that I think is very concerning and concerning when we come to community cats and feral cats.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, Councilor Stubbe, yes, and I think that's one of the things that the officers, when they go out to impound, is to tell him to clean up as best that he can without aggravating the dirt to make it worse for his wife. But yes, I believe that he's doing the best he can to deter these cats, but they have become accustomed to that area for now. Once he gets some deterrence and gets whatever means to stop attracting them to his property, that may help to keep them away.
And have we been able to identify the person that is attracting the cats to the area? Or
Madam Chair, Councilor Stubbe, at this time, no. We did have a lead, if you would say. It was a partial plate of somebody leaving the area that was seen dumping food. However, because it was only a partial plate, we weren't able to research and find out exactly who the registered owner of that vehicle was. Had we got a complete plate, then we could have gone and talked to that person and see what the issues were there and address it accordingly.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you, Councilor Abeyta-Stubbe. Officer Jimenez, when you showed Councilor Abeyta-Stubbe the map that in her district, I know that the districts for you are different than our council districts. Is that correct? Yes. Right.
Madam Chair, yes, ma'am. This map was at a request, I believe, from Mayor Pro Tem Gandara. So we put it together, and at the time, we thought that the best option for us was to label it or map it per council district. Police districts are a little bit different, but not a lot. So to make it less confusing, I think council districts work best.
Yes.
Police districts, we have like Police District 6.2, 6.1, which actually could be in Council District 5. So this mapping is the best, I believe, to avoid confusion.
Well, in terms of the concerns that Councilor Abeyta-Stubbe brought up, I saw that the map that's in blue, that's presumably her district. Yes, that's her district. The northern edge there is Missouri, but her district actually goes all the way up to, mine begins at the middle of Hillrise, so it's further north. Are there any, and she has concerns, and I don't know, Councilor Abeyta-Stubbe, whether you're receiving any calls from your constituents in the area above, north of Missouri.
Madam Chair, I have not. Most of my concerns have been within that Corbett area. That have been, I think, the majority of the issues that I've received.
Oh, okay. So that you have all the information you need on that. And so the question I have for you, Officer Jimenez, is so what would happen to the, I would call him the perp, the person who's leaving food or otherwise attracting the cats to a certain property and then drives away. So he's not doing it on his own property, or he or she. So what happens to that particular individual if caught?
Madam Chair, if we were able to verify through any kind of eyewitness testimony or the officer themselves witnessing the individual dropping food, they could be cited into court for harboring. Right now in the current ordinance, it prohibits harboring, which is feeding stray animals. So they would be cited under that ordinance right now.
And what is the penalty or the consequence?
The maximum penalty for any of our citations is $500 and or 90 days in jail for each offense. Typically, it is rare that anybody gets the maximum sentence. However, if you plead no contest or are found guilty, or even if you get a deferment, as Officer Kingsley said earlier, you still would have to pay court fees, which I believe right now are established at $36 per offense. But after that, it's at the judge's discretion what the fine and fee, if any, is going to be.
Okay, because a no contest doesn't necessarily admit, but doesn't necessarily deny the behavior or the whatever.
Correct.
The allegation. So, so then it's up, at that point though, it's up to the judge to impose a penalty of sorts. I mean,
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
discretion for her to do that. Okay.
And Madam Chair, sometimes the judges will entertain a recommendation from the officer. Not that that is going to be the fine or fee, but if the officer has a recommendation, the judge will entertain that. And of course, it's entirely up to him or her.
Right, right. Great. Well, thank you so much, Officer Jimenez. It's been
You're
very
welcome.
informative. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara and Councilor Abeda-Stui for your excellent questions. So if there are no further questions for either officer, we'll move on. Again, thank you, Officers Kingsley and Jimenez. So the next item on the agenda is Shelter Stats and Activities Report and Annual Report. Mr. Clint Thacker, Director.
That's me. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
For a while.
For those of you who are not speaking, would you please mute your audio if you're not speaking? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you have my presentation on the screen?
Yes, it's here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. This is a report for February. No, I'm sorry. This is the report for January 2021. The current count of the animal shelter is 246 dogs, 71 cats, and 1 other for a total of 318. And that puts us just a little under what we were in, looks like in 2020. The January intake, again, we're still, at this point in 2020, if you remember, we're still not into, it wasn't until April when we started our intake limitations for COVID. So we're still running high. So we're at 436 intake for 2021, 674 for 2020. We had 3 returns, 2 dogs and 1 cats in January of 2021. 2 were landlord issues. 1 was a behavior issue. The landlord issues, we don't know if it was because of a specific breed or if they just don't allow animals on that one. So, but that's the reasons for those returns. So I love this slide because it gives us some great information on not only just plain numbers, but also percentages. And I know that Commissioner Sanchez loves these charts with all these numbers on it, so I wish he was here to see this. But as you look at this, as you can see, adoptions is a perfect example, 298 in 2020. And you're thinking, holy cow, that's amazing. And then we look at 2021, you're like, oh, 215, well, we did less. But you have to remember, the percentage is where we're looking because that number is from our total intake, or I'm sorry, our total outcome. In 2021, we hardly had it near the animals that we did coming in 2022, or I'm sorry, in 2020. So in 2020, we may have had a lot of adoptions, but that's because we had a lot of animals to choose from. So the percentage is what we really want to focus on. So 215 was 49% of our entire outcome in 2021. And that is awesome. Almost half of our animals that came in January, I'm sorry, almost half the animals that left our outcomes in January were adoptions. Reclaims were almost 15%, so higher again than 2020. 41% were rescued, again higher than January of 2020. And then this is a good one too, euthanasias were lower, almost by 1% there, from 14.8 down to 14%. So that leaves us 89.4%, just barely squeaking under that live release rate that we like to hit of 90%. I believe, and I can be corrected if I'm wrong, but this is the closest we've ever gotten to having 2 months in a row of qualifying for a no-kill facility. So that is awesome. We are making excellent progress in going forward. Euthanasia reasons for 2021 in January. Again, the feral cats are our #1 reason for euthanasia. And then the next one comes down as behavior or aggressive dog. These are dogs that we've tried to do behavior with. These are dogs that are hitting the front of the kennel when you come by. And so these are guys that we don't feel, comfortable having them go out into the public. I love when graphs start telling a story, right? So back in April 2020 is when we started doing the limitations for the visitors coming in because of COVID. And we can see that we're always hovering around. And then for some reason in November of 2020, it took a huge dive as far as the number of animals coming in. And I would like to think that's when I had my ankle surgery. So maybe people were coming in and I just wasn't here, so they weren't able to see me. But we're still looking into that because everything was low. When I'm looking back through the history, the impounds were low, people coming to the center was low, rescues were low. So maybe it was just a low month for everybody with the long week of a holiday in there, with Thanksgiving, etc.
It was when the governor put a lockdown for us.
And that's what I was going to ask next was that when we went, because we went forward and then we had to jump backwards again. So it sounds like November might have been the backwards step that we did. Yeah. So, but we're working our way back up in 2021, back up to the norm that we're hitting in the 500s. So January adoption appointments. This came from, if you remember last month, there was a question of what's the actual percentage of these adoption appointments, 1 being kept and 2 are being adopted out of. So in January, we had 162 total adoption appointments that were scheduled, and only 78% of those were kept. So 127. And then 106 of the 162 original appointments finalized an adoption. So 66% of that 162 was. So well over
Clint?
half, about a third.
Mr. Clint,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Yvonne. So you had 107 finalized adoptions. You said 106. I think it's because it's 66%.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to make sure because every number is very important. That's a good number.
Very, very true. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So 107. So 66% of these appointments that are being made are ending up in adoptions. These are our website page views. And remember, for those that are new watching us, I explain this every month, but a web page view is not just the original hit on the shelter. This is the number of pages that are being seen. So if somebody goes in and they are looking at several animals, those are all going to be page hits. So if they look at 5 animals, that's 5 hits for that. If they go in and look at our kitten resources and our adoptable animals, that's going to be 2 hits. So again, there was that lull in November, and then we hit our highest in December, and then we're back down to about our normal or should be the normal range in January. Our Facebook views, again, holding steady around that 25 to 2,600 range, which is what we like to see. We're going to be starting doing some specials for our adoptions coming this summer, springtime and summer, spring for a pet, that kind of thing. It's going to be fun, and we're excited for those specials coming up. And that concludes, these are our pets of the week, is Smooches and Penguin, both available for adoption. So if you're interested, please contact us at the center. Are there any questions on the month of January before I begin the annual
Any
Madam
questions?
Chairperson, I have a question for Clint, if you don't mind.
Not at all, of course, proceed.
Okay. Back on February 16th, all of the members of the JPA panel received an email from a citizen they're looking for a companion dog for their current dog. And they went on the website and they found this dog who was characterized as happy and good with other dogs and is shy and beautiful. And so they started to make inquiries and were very correctly told by a member of the shelter that, hey, you know, we're not going to recommend this animal to you because he's noted to be aggressive to other dogs and he's killed a smaller dog. And I think if we all read that and remember it, that her concern was about the transparency. I responded back to her basically saying that I would bring this up just as an issue at today's meeting, but that I did not think that this happened very frequently at all. And I don't think it does. Clint, I know you lost some of your people who were key in the adoption process. I know it's going to get better from here. But what safeguards or what protocol do you have in place that would prevent this thing from happening? You know, if we're going to talk about a dog who's adoptable, but yet should be in a single pet home, or warning about what that dog's history is, I also don't think it should be right on that adoption page, because that's going to scare people away from even considering that dog. But, you know, how can you rectify this kind of discrepant information from your advertisement on Shelter Love versus the reality?
Yeah, great question. That whole situation was it was poorly handled as far as the information that was given. It wasn't that we were saying this pet isn't for you or isn't up for adoption. It was in the second point of communication that she had with the office individual. They stated it better by saying, this is the history that we have. So the history that we got from animal control is that the animal was rumored to have killed another animal and that the dog is out loose. And that was from the owner, from owner to the ACO to us. So when somebody calls and says they're interested in an animal, we give the history for that person. And you're right, we don't put it there on the screen for adoptions because some people may, like you said, may not want to adopt it just for that reason. Another point is that we try hard to get the accurate info and also to recreate that behavior. And we never, on this dog, we never saw the recreation of that behavior. It was kenneled with another dog, smaller than it. We also kenneled it with another dog that was larger than it. And we also went on a walk with this dog and another dog side by side. We could never recreate that aggressive behavior. Not saying that it didn't happen, but just saying we couldn't recreate it. And that's the information that should have been shared, because all that is in the notes of the animal. So it shouldn't have been said, we don't recommend this animal be adopted by you. It should have been said, this is the history of the animal. We have been unable to recreate it. We just want to let you know. Because if that animal was truly aggressive in that way, it would not have been put up for adoption.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate it.
Clint,
Yes, Mr. Excuse me, Cassandra? Yes, I see you. Mayor-
Thank you.
Mr. Allens? Ms.
Clint, was that animal ultimately adopted by that couple?
No, I do not think. No, it was not.
Oh, no, it was adopted, Clint, because the
Not by-
owner,
Not by that person.
because there was a letter, an email from someone who said, I can't remember who, but it sounded like it was the same case where she said that it turned out to be a very tender, gentle animal, and that it had been, it was misleading, and maybe I'm confusing emails, because
We get a lot of those good emails that say that it's a great dog when they get out of the shelter. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that, but I can find out and let you know.
Yeah, I think it was, I thought when Jeannie started talking, Attorney Quintero started talking about this, I thought that was the same case, but perhaps I'm confusing them as well. I mean, or.
I'll look into it and let you know.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clint. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Clint, I was noticing sort of the numbers related to the website, people inquiring and the Facebook. What are we doing to try to capture, 40,000 plus hits is a lot. It's not matching the number of adoptions, those kinds of things, right? Or the number, and some of it is COVID related, I'm sure. But what are we doing related to a campaign to make it a little more, where we're generally trying to find out what people's interests are. If it's for foster, it's adopting. I know they're looking at animals, but how are we enticing people, right, to foster and adopt? And I'm not sure. I think those are great numbers and they continue to rise. I think it's awesome. But we also, I think, need to think about what our campaigns are looking like to make sure that people have interest, and if it's just like they're perusing, I'm sure there's a lot of those. We've talked about a survey, right? I know, and it's difficult that, I've had some interest in some animals, and it's hard to really get an understanding of those, of what this animal is about, that kind of thing. With the pictures that are there, that's very limited in terms of the kind of animal that you're looking at. And so I don't know if you're getting calls related to those 40,000 hits. It would be nice to dig in and then really understand how we can entice people, encourage them, right? There's all sorts of opportunities, right? The adoption, foster, being an advocate. There's all these advocacy groups. I think we should really look at, because those 40,000 are people that have some interest, show some interest, but don't quite make it to the adoption or fostering or donating, or there's like a tremendous volunteering. I don't get that. I when I get in there and I'm looking a lot, because I've been looking for an animal. I'm looking a lot and I see so I'm part of those 40,000+ hits, right?
And that's the thing. Before you know it, because I was doing the same thing. We wanted to foster an animal. And so I was kind of going through the website. And before I knew it, I was 15 minutes into going forward and looking back. And I was probably a good 200 of those as well. And so that's important to remember. It's not 45,000 people looking. It's 45,000 view hits. So I'm sure people have several. I mean, it takes a while to find a dog that you're interested in, or a cat that you're interested in to find. So that's a good majority of them as well. But I understand what you're saying is how do we utilize people coming to the site and looking at animals? How do we get them to say, there's a lot here, maybe it would be worth my time to volunteer, or there's so many animals here, I wish I could donate something. What does the center need? So I think we probably could do a little better of advertising on the website. When I say advertise, I mean something pop up to say, hey, do you want to help us out? This is how you can help us out. Here's our Amazon wish list that we have. Here's our donate button. Have you seen our donate button? It's right here. All those things are on our website. Learn more about volunteer work. So I've put on notes to work with our web person at Wilson Binkley and see if, one, we can't get some numbers of where people are clicking. If most of these numbers are coming from animals looking to adopt, which I'm assuming they are, because that's the only place people can browse the number of animals or the type of animals we have right now, or how many are there to look at kitten resources, or feral cat issues. So I'll work with them and see if we can't do that. That's great ideas. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd really like to see a little more information on those animals. I know it's tough, but I keep seeing the same ones there week after week after week, right? But when you hit on their picture, there's one picture, maybe two, there's no video, this is the kind of animal they are. I mean, I get you're trying to entice people, but I don't know. I always leave there feeling like I want more. I want just a little more information before I make that call or before I put my name on, right? That says you want to adopt. I mean, I'm not, and maybe people aren't quite there yet. So I'm getting the feeling that there's lack of information.
I'll talk to Paul Richardson, our shelter supervisor about it. I'm sorry, our kennel supervisor. I just gave him a promotion.
Hey,
And
congratulations, Paul.
I'll talk to him about it because a lot of this kennel, the kennel technicians are supposed to be doing videos and things of the animals. I mean, we have a YouTube page that shows those. We have animals that have videos, interactions with other dogs on those. So I know they're on there, but we'll see if we can increase it. I know it's been really hard because the shortage of our staff right now, not a lot of free time. As you see in those morning updates, a person calls in sick. We have great people that work with us, and people are coming in on their days off to help. So
I get it.
That's going to be remedied here in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited for that. But thank you. Yeah, we're working.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair and Clint.
And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Gandaran. Thank you, Clint, Mr. Thacker, for your response. I do want to say to Mayor Pro Tem Gandara that you're going in looking for another Marley. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen.
I know he's one of a kind, that guy.
Yes, he is.
That came from the center.
Yes, he did. Yes, adorable. Thank you very much. Is that the end of your report?
It is for the monthly report. We now have our annual report I'd like to present.
Okay, proceed, s'il vous plaît.
All right, Madam Chair, can you see the presentation?
Yes,
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
So the 2020 report is, I'm not going to lie, it is awesome. We had an amazing year. When I look back where we were at in January, and my frame of thinking was, we've got to make some changes, and how are we going to do it? And they've got to be drastic changes. Well, COVID forced us into those changes, right? And that's, if there is a good side of a pandemic for the animal industry, that was it, is it really forced a lot of the animal industry to do things that they wanted to do, in 4 or 5 years down the road. So our intake statistics, 3,175 animals total from the city of Las Cruces. Now remember, we are made up of city of Las Cruces, the county of Doña Ana, and then all the cities, individual cities in the county area. So 3,175. Our number one was cats for the city, 971 cats. And this is unrestrained from animal control. And so 830 for the dogs. Our next highest one, and this is what I want everybody to notice, owner surrenders. 361 dogs came into the center from owner surrendering. So this is one that we've really got to work on. Or why are animals being surrendered by their owners? What number of that 361, what ones really wanted to keep their animals, but just couldn't? And that's what we're looking at. The resources we have, we have a food bank that we work with APA, that we've donated to, and I know they help out a ton on their side. We have the obedience training with Doña Ana County Humane Society. They're willing to come in and do free, 1 session free. So this year we're going to be focusing on what is that 361 and see if we can't get it done. That's pretty huge when it's the second largest intake type is owner surrenders. And then the third would be unrestrained from the public. And that means that somebody found a dog running loose, so they brought it into us. Now for the county, 2,964 from the county. As you can see here, cats are way down. County has not as big as a cat issue coming in from animal control. I'd like to congratulate the county on a really cool number for your dog impounds, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one I can remember. But these are dogs coming in from animal control, seen as loose, so they pick them up stray, or an individual call and say, hey, I found this dog, I need you to come and get it. Again, though, second highest impound reason, owner surrender, 418. We've got to figure out why these are coming in and what we can do to push them back. The center, we're doing things that we're doing appointments instead of just coming in and say, come anytime and give us your pet. We have appointments set where people have to come in, and then we talk to them and ask, why are we doing this? We have a little questionnaire that they fill out so we can get more information from it. And then according to that questionnaire, if they say, well, it goes to the bathroom in the house all the time, it's not potty trained, we say, well, we can offer you some training. Or I can't afford to feed it. Okay, would food help to get you through some rough times? And sometimes they accept, and we're finding more often than not, they don't. Those are kind of excuses of what to do. And then the hard conversation starts of, well, if you don't want the food, then why are you really turning it over? Because we need to know that. We need to know, are there issues? Are you just feeling bad because it attacked somebody, or if it killed another dog? Whatever reason, we need to know what it is. If you just don't want it, we need to know that reason too. But that's very alarming. Owner surrender is second largest for the public. Or for the county. Again, unrestrained from the public is the third. Now, I will tell you, in 2019, these numbers were, in fact, I can tell you. All right, so the total intake, owner surrender for dogs was 1,268, and that's county and city together. But it was just under strays in the public at 1,314. So it has now gone from third place up to second place, owner surrenders has. And some of that may be to COVID. Some of that may be that people are home. Let's go to the next slide. So this is our total combined intake, 6,285. Again, largest reason are dogs coming from animal control and cats. And then there's that owner surrender. And as you read, the 779, that's a lot lower than the 1,268, but that's because we had less animals overall coming in. It's still worrisome at the third or the second highest reason for intake. So this is our comparison through 2009. Steady trend downward. I mean, we hit a plateau right here, and that's why in January of 2020, the managers were like, we've got to do something to get this plateau. Obviously, it's not working what we are. So COVID hit, we had to limit intake. Only the animals that really needed to come in the center, we requested from the city and county to be brought in. Monthly intake, as you can see in the report that's done, even though we limited our numbers of what's coming in, we still had the cycle of here. It's a little misleading because we didn't start until April, but springtime and then the summer hit and we go up, and now we're back into the November, December, winter time, and it's going to plateau out here lower, and then spring and summer it's going to climb back up. So even though we were limiting in pounds, it still had that wave cycle going through. Again, our largest impound are dogs, 58%, almost 59% of our entire intake was dogs. And then cats was next at 39%. little slivers over there is wildlife at 1.7%, and then all the others are less than 1% of our intake. All right, so outcome. Outcome means animals leaving the shelter. This is a quick breakdown of it. We rescued over 2,200 animals, or not over, but 2,200 animals went to rescue. That's 35%. And before we say, oh man, that's not very many, I have the 2019 stats here. So transferred to rescue was 27.2%, and we hit 35% this year. That is just awesome. Wow. So way to go to our Liz and Donnie. Did a whole bunch of work as our rescue coordinators. Fantastic. Adopted is at 28.8, so almost 29% of our total outcomes were adoptions. And if you go by the full number, that is significantly lower than last year. But remember, we have to go by percentage of outcome. So last year was 27%, so we went up almost 2%. For our adoptions. Euthanized, 1,026, and it was 16.3% in 2020. In 2019, 18.2, so we dropped 2%. And that's good. That's one that we want lower. Return to owner was at 13.3% of our outcomes were returned, and that's up a whole percent. Last year it was 12.4. Community cat stolen, expired. These are all, all of these have gone down, which is good. Let's see. Yeah. So that's a quick picture of our outcomes. So this is what I was talking about. 1,808 adoptions in 2020. And when you compare it to the most we've ever done in our entire history in 2019, which is 2,804, you're like, holy cow, what's the problem? Well, percentage-wise, we're higher, much higher, 35%. So we're excited about that. This is a comparison for the dogs and cats. We always, and it's an animal industry standard that dogs are just easier. We do more dog adoptions than cats. The only place I've seen where the cats outnumber the dog adoptions is when it's a cat adoption only area. So that's the only time I've ever seen it. But yeah, over half of our animals were dogs going out. Okay, now this tells also the same story. If you look at just plain numbers, 2018 was the first full year I was here. We did the most we've ever done, 3,557. And then we went down to 2,794 and then 2,200. But if we, again, look at it percentage-wise, we did more percentage of our intake left in animal transfers than ever before. Now our live release rate. As you know, live release rate is the number or the percentage of animals that left the center alone. That left the center alive. We want this to be a 90%. 90% live release rate qualifies us as a no-kill shelter or no-kill center. That is my goal for the ASCMV, is to be considered a no-kill center. So you ask, well, why isn't it 100%? Well, the reason is because we're always going to have those animals, like I said before, in the monthly report, where they're not safe to release out to the public, or wolves that are way too sick to be able to be let out, where it's more merciful to let them be euthanized than it is to have them live. So that 10% was given as a buffer to animal shelters as a way to account for them, let them be euthanized, but still obtain that no-kill philosophy, which we are. And that 90%, by the way, was not made up by me. It was kind of a national organizations all got together and agreed that 90% is what it should be. So 90% is our mark. So for dogs in 2020, we made it. Our dogs are considered a no-kill facility for animals, we could say. For dogs, I mean, 91.4%. And that is up almost 10% from what we were in 2019. And then cats, sadly, they dropped. We went from 79% in 2019 down to 73.8. I contribute that mostly to the feral cats coming in that we have to euthanize because there's no program right now. The overall live release rate, we went up that 3 points, almost a full 3 points. So 2019 was 80.9, which at that time was the highest live release rate we've ever had. Well, this year, or last year, we hit 83.6%. It's the highest live release rate we've ever had in the history of the Animal Service Center in Mesilla Valley. I'm very proud to be part of this journey that we're having, and we're continuing to make that higher. Again, 90% our live release rate. Of note, because I only bring this up because our highest euthanasia reason is feral cats. If we did not euthanize the feral cats, we would be at 88.3%. 88.3% live release rate.
Clint, is that a combination of both cats and dogs?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. This does not include skunks that are brought in. We have to euthanize. This does not include court order euthanasias that we have no choice. We have to euthanize them. This is dogs and cats. Yeah. Again, our euthanasia breakdown, and again, so the only reason why I bring it up is the feral cats, 321 were euthanized because of feral. The majority of those in a correctly ran trap neuter return program, they would be released back out, and so our live release rate would be higher for that. The next one is medical issues, all the way down to 114, and you see the others. Here's our euthanasia comparison. Again, that downward trend is good. But again, you want to look at the percentage. Yeah, we euthanized less than 2019, but our euthanasia percentage is what you want to look at. I believe it was at 16.6% in 2019, and we were down. Oh, euthanized was at 18.2% in 2019, and we're at 16%. So even percentage-wise, we even dropped, which is good.
Clint?
Yes, sir.
If the city adopts the catch, trap, and release, what do you think that will do to your numbers?
Well, it will significantly help because the county ordinance right now allows for trap neuter return in those areas. And so we release cats back out with those limitations. And the majority of the cats that brought in from the county get released back out. The city, however, doesn't have ones, but we would be doing the same. So, it would improve significantly if that passes. So we report on some of our public services that we do. Surgeries, man, they are rock stars. I still don't know how they do it back there. They did 2,451 surgeries in 2020. That is even with the shutdown that we had in April and May with the governor when we first started, that we couldn't do any elective surgeries. Veterinarians couldn't do any elective surgeries, and spay and neuter was considered an elective surgery. So even with that shutdown for a while, we did 883 adoption animals. We did, and what that is, adoption animals are animals that are either already adopted, like the foster to adopt program that we have, and also animals that were adopted, and we say, well, why don't you stay the night, let the animal stay the night, and we'll sterilize it the next day. And then shelter animals, 853. These are animals that have not yet been adopted, but they're still in the shelter. And so we're sterilizing them prior to going for adoption. We did 494 trap neuter return surgeries, And then for the public, which are majority of those, it's not public, it's animals that were adopted or were impounded at the center, and people redeemed their animals. And they said, yeah, I'd like to just have you go ahead and sterilize them. So that we consider those public sterilizations. And just of note, and most of those are done because of state law. If it's impounded twice in a year, on that second impound, you have to, by state law, you have to purchase a sterilization voucher. Whether you use it or not is totally up to you, but you have to purchase that voucher. So those people are saying, yeah, I'll utilize that voucher. Let's get them sterilized. Here's the total number count. As you see, April is when we enacted the COVID restrictions, and we've been pretty steady with the individuals coming through the center. They're allowed up to have 2 at a time. And so those are great numbers, if you ask me, of people coming in. Facebook views, again, holding steady, that 2,400 to 2,500 area for the majority. Website views had that huge dip in November where we weren't able to, we had the limitation stay-at-home order. But we jumped back up in December. Now, some of our other efforts that we're still doing radio ads. You've probably heard our, I think he's Captain Kitten, I think, on the radio, where he helps a person who's found some kittens, tells them just to leave them alone. So we have those. We also have our ads on Facebook going of leave the litter alone. Pet of the Week continues to go out. So Holly Wells is our representative there. And we were just notified by the city last week that they would like one of our own to do the presentation of Pets of the Week. So starting next week, I believe, we're going to have Holly's going to be logging on to the city council meetings and just doing the Pet of the Week, and then she can sign off. So oddly enough, she's excited about that. So I'll be able to talk with you guys about and answer any questions that you have for those. Again, the Pet of the Week also goes out to the newspapers that choose to publish it, and also Facebook and online. We are always doing, whenever needed, we're doing interviews with radio and also with the news. We did our drive-through clinic. It was hugely successful, and we're going to be planning another one here shortly for the springtime. We'd like to do a couple. We did apply for a grant to do at least 4, but we did not get the grant, sadly. However, we've been in touch with other grant places that are other grantees or grantors, and they are interested in helping us out too. So really excited to see if we can foster that relationship. Our volunteer program took a big hit as far as just hours being utilized. I made the decision to severely limit the number of volunteers that were allowed. Here, the last couple months, we were able to bring people back in with some of the rules being loosened regulations. So we still were able to have people at our drive-through clinic was done during COVID. So we had volunteers there. And also fosters are a huge work to help us out in all that we do. This is the financial side. Basically, it's telling us that the fiscal year 2020, there's a little bit of difference in the revenue budget because of COVID that we're seeing. But overall, we're doing really well with our budget this year. So there's a difference between calendar year and fiscal year. But as of December, or I should say January 1st, we're in the middle of the fiscal year, and our finances are doing fairly well because of COVID and the reduced number of animals coming into the center. Now, the report is available in its entirety on our website under About. People can go there and see the entirety of the report. So that's the end of my slideshow. Any questions?
Any questions? Boy, we have yes, Councilor Abeyta-Stuvey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Clint, this actually isn't a question, but just a comment and a thank you to you and your staff for really acting so well during what is a very unique time and trying time for so many. And I know it's always great to have these goals to keep moving forward, but I think you and your staff have done a wonderful job of working and adapting to still try to reach those goals, even with all the challenges. So thank you. And thank
I
you,
appreciate that. It's, again, I said it before, I have incredible people that I work with. We're always bobbing and weaving to figure out issues and problems. You know, Paul Richardson, our kennel supervisor, was just in my office yesterday, had a fantastic idea of incorporating some transport drivers in with animal caregivers. And we're going to be working on that because it's such a great idea. So these ideas are always coming, especially with the COVID times. I especially thank Bernice. She won't accept the praise, but what she does, and especially preparing this report, the annual report, it takes a long time to get these numbers together and be able to present graphs. So I appreciate her doing so. I get the easy job of talking to you and just showing you the graphs. She has the hard job of making them. So she did. If you go and read the entire report, each graph has a paragraph in front of it explaining, and she does a fantastic job of writing. She had to rewrite all of those from scratch because so many of them changed due to COVID. I had to explain the huge wave in the numbers. So did a great job. So we appreciate her too. But all of my staff are fabulous. Wouldn't change any of them.
Anyone else? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara.
Thank you. Yeah, ditto to what Councilor Abeyta-Stuvey said, Clint. Thank you so much and your staff, Paul, Bernice. You know, there's some consistent people that you've had ever since I've been elected the first time. So very appreciative of the work. I know how difficult the time has been, but you adapted and overcame and just continue to provide great services, and looking forward to what the new center, right, the mission is going to like. It will really help in terms of what our vision is for this board, I think, in terms of more spay and neuters, adoptions. And so I'm really excited to see that. And I hear it groundbreaking, virtual groundbreaking maybe in the future here. Did you know?
Yes.
Virtual groundbreaking, Clint. Yes, it's being discussed. So yeah, I'm excited, really excited. So thank you, Madam.
And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other expressions of gratitude or questions for Clint? Well, then, Mr. Thacker, I too share the sentiments of my colleagues on this board and on City Council, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara and Councilor Abeyta-Stuvey. I join them in thanking you. And it's amazing how we've gone to a no-kill shelter insofar as our doggies are concerned. So, Clint, my question regarding that is the cats are below that 90%. We're above the 90% with our doggies. So do we still qualify as a no-kill?
No.
No. Average?
No,
Okay.
it's for dogs and cats.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Wow. Has that PTS number, put to sleep number, gone down with ferals, or has it gone up? I think you said it has. It's, yeah, right. It's gone up considerably. So we have to work on that. Okay. But overall, thank you very much to you and your staff. And I think that all of you work beautifully. And I really enjoy the comments that Paul and Curtis put out when they make their, not all the time, but I mean, it's not like, they're running a little comedy show there. But there's a lot of humor and a lot of humanity actually in their reports. So
Yeah.
I really enjoy.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, Ms. Gilbert, proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Flores. I just wanted to say, you asked if there were any additional comments or messages or words of gratitude. And I would like to express gratitude on behalf of the animal welfare community to Clint. I think some of you know I've been involved over 30 years in animal welfare here in Las Cruces, and I've always had an affiliation with the shelter. I've always been involved in some capacity. And I want to say these are truly the best of times. And thank you, Clint. Oh my gosh, we have come so far. And it's largely to your leadership. So thank you again. And I think we have a community that is really working hard. And of course, that'll be in the coalition report coming up, but because of the leadership and good leadership and the progressive practices, we are attracting more people and therefore building more resources. So thank you.
Yeah,
And thank you.
I just want
Yes.
to throw out again, the rescues are the ones that really made it possible, especially the 91% live release rate for the dogs. I mean, that is huge. The rescues are coming out in numbers. I think, what did I say? 35% of our total outcomes were rescues. That is huge. So thank you very much for them. That's all.
Great. Thank you again, Mr. Thacker. So we shall move on to unless I'm missing somebody's little blue hand here. No, I don't see anybody's little blue hands. Okay. So let's proceed to committee reports. I have Ms. Finance. Councilor Beta-Stuvey, do you have a report this month?
Thank you. We did meet. And the only thing I was going to say that according to the JPA, it is our city assistant manager who is the chair of that committee and not myself. But we did meet. There was a fairly smooth meeting. The only thing that I have in my notes to look at, we still needed to send out billings for some of the smaller communities. And so that was one item that we had picked to look into. And I do have Mr. Sappel as well here for a report. So I'll turn it right over to him.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Josh Saffel. And on behalf of the Finance Department of the City of Las Cruces, I'd like to present the unaudited financial statements as of January 31st, 2021. So looking first at our statement of net position, highlights from all funds. In the general fund, we see cash of $853,686, receivables of $93,491, giving us total assets in the general fund of $947,177. We had liabilities of $64,831 and revenue collected in advance of $55,501, which gave us an unassigned fund balance in the general fund of $826,845. Looking at the capital projects fund, we had cash of $29,798 and a restricted fund balance of $29,798. In the capital assets fund, we had capital assets, which were net of accumulated depreciation in the amount of $199,355 and an unassigned fund balance of $199,355. Looking at our change in net position for all funds, we see in the general fund total revenues of $2,058,899, total expenses or expenditures of $1,403,802, for a positive net change to the fund balance in general fund of $655,097. In the capital projects fund and the capital assets fund, neither of those had revenue, but in the capital projects fund, there was a total expenditure of $1,767 for a negative net change to the fund balance of $1,767. Capital assets fund, we did recognize depreciation of $24,634. So again, the net change in the capital assets fund was a negative $24,634. Looking at our budget to actual, the total revenues of $2 million was 60.4% of the budget, while our total expenditures of $1,403,000 was 41.7% of the budget. Our budget parameter for January was about 58.33%. So our revenue was good, being quite above that, and our expenditures were also good, being below that amount. Looking at revenues versus expenditures, the graph for each month, we see that our revenues seem to have kind of flatlined. They're now more constant. They had started off high and we're following that trend, but they seem to have reached a level. And our expenditures are still trending below our revenue, which is good. Looking at expenditure categories as a percentage of total expenditures, we see that our personnel expenses make up 76% of our total expenditures, while services are 15%, supplies are 6%, insurance is 2%, and repairs and maintenance make up 1% of our total expenditures. That will conclude my presentation unless there are any questions.
Any questions by the board? Mr. Saffel, I don't see anybody's little blue hand up. Mr. Saffel, thank you very much. Can you please explain page 3 regarding the capital assets? They were, what's it page? Maybe I'm on the wrong page. Yeah, capital assets. You said there was a negative 24,634. But yet, the last slide, you indicated that the expenses were trending below revenue, so that's good. So overall, we're in good shape financially. In spite of the negative on page 3.
Yes, in general, our expenses are generally below our revenue. If you look specifically at that capital asset fund, you'll see that fund itself actually generates no revenue. But the expense that we see in there, because that fund is reserved for our capital assets, we have to recognize depreciation of those assets, and it's recognized as an expense in that fund. So there is an expense in the fund, even though there's no revenue. So the change to the fund balance will be negative, but that is not necessarily bad when it comes to the rest of the financial standard.
So, Mr. Saffel, does that mean it's a depreciation of capital assets?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it's good for accounting purposes to note where we are in that regard, but it does not affect our overall budget and revenue.
Right, that is correct.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Saffel. Any other questions? Great. Thank you again, Mr. Saffel.
None for me, Madam Chair. Sorry, I couldn't get to that button quick enough.
Oh, no, it's okay. So you don't have any questions? Or do you?
No, I don't.
That's what I thought. Thank you very much again, Mr. Saffel. Thank you. Councilor Vedas-Dewey, do you have anything more to add to your report?
The only thing I'd like to check up on is that follow-up from our conversation, if we've been able to send out the billing for those smaller communities that we talked about during our finance meeting.
And Madam Chair, yes, that is on Bernice's to-do list. I made sure of that in our managers meeting on Tuesday, that reminded her of the billing, and she does know that.
So it has gone out, Mr.
I don't know if it's gone out or not. Bernice can speak up if she'd like to, but it is on her to-do list. She was pretty busy getting the year-end numbers and everything put together, but it is there.
Yeah, no, at this time, they had not gone out yet, but by tomorrow, before the end of the day, everything will be caught up and sent out, so.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Are you done, Abeta Stubbe, Council? Great, thank you. And thank you, Bernice, Ms. Navarro, for your fantastic work. It's unbelievable. And yes, thank you very much. So the next item on the agenda is executive, and there is no report from the executive committee. Facilities, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, do you have a report?
Yes, ma'am. I do. Gosh, I don't know, Clint. I have all this right here. I actually, tabbed it and everything so that because normally I have issues finding it, but it feels like it's a past animal facilities meeting, but you'll tell me. I think we did talk about the window. Window is fixed by Art Glass.
All of them have been replaced now.
All of them have been replaced. Yes, we talked about the washer and dryer.
They are arriving, they said, the end of the first week in March. So hopefully next week we'll get them in. We also have plans at our managers meeting. We discussed prepping that area, the laundry room area. If you remember from the tours, it's those linoleum squares that are down. And so they've chipped up they're probably original from the building. So our thought was Dr. Haddon had a good idea of maybe having a day in between removal of the old ones and installing the new ones that we can get in there. We can chip off the rest of them and maybe polish it, just get it a little more conducive to clean laundry. Right now, if you drop a clean laundry, you feel like you have to put it back in the dirty clothes to get it rewashed. And then we're also talking about removing, the staff actually brought this up, to remove there's cupboards up there, and to remove those and also the countertop. Nobody ever uses it. It's just a place for stuff to get dumped. So putting metal shelves on wheels that we could pull out and scrub the whole floor area if we need to. So we're working on getting that done. So that's an update. Just a
Thank
simple
you.
wash and dryer.
So much happens we meet the first week of every Thursday, every first Thursday of the month. And so a lot happens in 4 weeks for sure. I know that Clint talked about the facilities a little more they were in the process of scrubbing all the people floors from top to bottom. They're getting, a lot, trying to make sure that all the dust and those kinds of things, and maybe the residue and the dust and the grime that collects might be because of maybe the possible fluorine used. I don't know, but the staff has done an excellent job of really scrubbing it down and making sure that it's clean to their specification. So that's good. In terms of the facility, still COVID-free. Clint it was really excited about that. We all are, of course, because the safety and well-being of our staff is super important, especially when we have people coming from the outside, right, for appointments, those kinds of things. We talked a lot about the different positions that are available. From the kennels to the surgical techs to the spay and neuter coordinator. All those positions have been, I think, posted, and as well as the coordinator positions. Everybody's pretty hopeful, as you saw. I think I forwarded the grant writer position that's available, and hopefully you're getting some good inquiries, and we'll be able to definitely hire soon. And then the vet position, we've talked a lot about that position and sort of the issues that have transpired related to that, and having to go out and making sure that they had the appropriate salary, that kind of thing. I did speak to, so you know, Clint, I did speak to City Manager Mr. Peely about sort of the delays and those kinds of things, and he was checking on that, because for sure we want, in order for us to meet the vision we have, we need that vet position, right, to be able to do the things that we think are necessary. So I don't know if you have an update on that, Clint, yet, if you've heard any more related to the vet position.
I believe it was either Monday or Tuesday, we received word from City Human Resources that the pay grade has been established.
Oh, good.
And so, but they just gave us a number, like it was like 26, pay grade 26. We didn't know what that meant. So we had to follow up so we can present a range of salary, you know, on the recruitment. So we're just waiting to hear back from that.
Cool.
And Bernice is on that.
Good. And then we talked a lot about the work session. I'm glad that on March 8th, related to the ordinance that the city has been working on at least a couple of years, looking at from our task force, you know, breaking out and doing a resolution on TNR before we actually do the approvals of the full ordinance, because it's going to take some time with a first read, second read, that kind of thing, advertisement. But we talked a lot about an educational campaign, just because we're all concerned about the feral cats and the sunset clause and what it does to the facility, right? And we talked a lot about live release rates and why we don't meet that is probably one of the reasons that that sunset clause occurred, and why we're not hitting some of those markers. So that's all I have to report. I don't know, Clint, is there anything else? We did talk, I know, about the new center. We always do. It's like a standing agenda item. I did mention and just reminding folks, people that are new to this meeting and watching virtually, you know, the city has a website that you could go in, a dashboard that you could see where the new Animal Services Center is. Clint, do you have any updates about where we're at? I know I've just heard in passing from another virtual groundbreaking event for Firehouse 3 that our staff was working on a virtual event for Animal Services Center. So,
yeah, we're not there yet as far as a date. We're still in negotiations with the contractor, doing some value engineering. But there is groundbreaking going to happen. We know that. And Joe Richards, our our public relations person, I think it is. She's doing a great job of getting things and ideas. So I want to make it a memorable event.
Yeah, it's going to be super exciting. Okay.
No date yet.
No date yet. Very cool, but it's happening. So please, I encourage everybody to look at that website, that dashboard. It really gives a lot of information about where each of the GeoBond initiatives are in their design, construct, that kind of thing. So thanks, Madam Chair, Clint, for your help.
And thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, for all of your work on this, and a lot of other related issues to the or items to the center. The access to all of that could be the access to the website would be Las Cruces, all lowercase, lascruces.civicweb.net. And any and all information you need is there. If it's not there, please let us know so that we can let our powers that be update all of that. And thank you also again, Clint. And next is the CFPP presentation by Jean Gilbert, Coalition for Pets and People.
Yes, thank you, Good morning. This is Jean Gilbert, Secretary, Coalition for Pets and People. Here's the list of organizations that will be represented in this month's report. The coalition alternates, so organizations that aren't featured here will be in next month's report. And board members were given stats with information on organizations, programs, and services, and those were sent in advance of the meeting. Okay, next slide, please. The coalition's work for January and February included attending 2 task force meetings and providing input and support for the community cat section of the city ordinance. In addition, as allies of the shelter, we participate in the monthly conversations sessions with Clint. And we also promote the shelter through social media and express support for shelter services and their rescue partners and so on. An example of this is and also we assist community members with pet issues that come up, and either through direct action or we try to find resources for people. And an example of this recently is providing some financial assistance to a colony cat manager for a sterilization of feral cats. Okay, next slide, please. This is Two Hearts, Four Paws. They're located in Radium Springs, and they provide care for about 40 dogs. Many of them are seniors and hard to place animals. In addition to operating their sanctuary, they advocate for stray and homeless animals, like the dog pictured here on the left, who was discovered abandoned near Dripping Springs Road. Two Hearts, Four Paws also helps promote resources for pets, especially in their underserved area. And here is a picture of a dog as advertisement for a low-cost vaccination clinic that was held in Hatch just last month. Okay, next slide, please. Action programs for animals adopted 19 animals in January. Mandy, who's pictured far left with her new canine companion, was adopted in early February after a successful sleepover. She'd been with APA for 3 years and is a graduate of the Southern New Mexico PAWS prison dog training program. APA offers progressive programs, including doggy day outs, where approved people can take dogs out of the APA center and take them for walks and time socializing for a portion of a day. Dogs pictured on the right are some of those that could be taken for doggy day out time. Next slide, please. Enchanted Pass Animal Rescue, located in Chaparral, is a rescue partner of APA, and they accepted 6 felines recently into their foster and adoption program. They've helped APA place many of their rescues. APA, by the way, transferred over 100 animals to rescue in 2020. Pictured right are some of APA's shy and timid cats who could be suitable or adaptable as barn or shop cats. As a progressive animal welfare organization utilizing all the programs of the no-kill equation, APA is continuously building resources to help animals that have special needs. Okay, next slide, please. Broken Promises Southwest, the 2 cats pictured left were TNR'd recently by Broken Promises, along with 3 others that made the TNR complete for that particular colony. Mia, pictured right, is the last feline of her colony to be TNR'd, and she required a specialized drop trap to be caught. Broken Promises TNR'd 89 cats in 2020, and my apologies if the number is incorrect on this caption here. And they had an intake of 122 felines with 116 surgeries. Their annual report is included in the board members' packets. In light of the city animal control ordinance under review, and in particular the community cat section, Broken Promises board member Joe Mealy was interviewed recently by KTSM Television, which is Channel 9, about how to humanely reduce community cat populations through trap, neuter, and return. Okay, next slide, please. Broken Promises Southwest manages the cattery at the PetSmart store, and here you see pictured Echo, who had bad luck, was displaced when her first adopter passed away. And then a few months after that, the adoption didn't work with the second family. And so Broken Promise is saying this appears to be third time is the charm here for Echo, and she's found her forever home. Broken Promises adopted 45 cats in 2020. And in addition to their cattery and TNR work, foster and adoption work, they also operate a sanctuary. And they recently built these winter shelters for community cats, which were donated to rescues and to private individuals. Okay, next slide, please. Cats Meow, pictured are 2 bonded senior cats who were adopted recently by Cats Meow, and they've been in foster care a long time with them. And pictured right is kitten Preka, who was found outside shivering in the cold, and she was adopted promptly by Cats Meow. In 2020, Cats Meow facilitated the adoption of approximately, which is a remarkable number, 275 felines. And they transported about 50 cats and kittens to Santa Fe Humane Society, where those felines quickly found homes. Currently, 45 to 50 cats and kittens reside at their adoption center facility. And they, in addition to that adoption and foster work, they also assist with TNR of community cats. And they offer monthly feline spay-neuter mobile clinics, mostly for Cats Meow cats. But if they have slots available, they'll allow it for members within Las Cruces and Doñana County. Okay, next slide, please. Cherish Canines, pictured here left is Cherish Canine Director Carla Baker, with a dog who was astray in the desert for several weeks before they could actually trap her. Now she's living in Littleton, Colorado, and was received by the New Hope Cattle Dogs Rescue Program. When Cherish Canines learned that the Cattle Dog Rescue was going to accept Loki, they asked if they'd be willing to accept any others into their program, and found out they were. And so they were able to Cherish Canines was able to facilitate the rescue of 3 Healer Australian mixes from our animal shelter, and they were included in the 10-hour transport to Colorado. Pictured left is Loki, who was rescued in Mexico by an American veterinarian who does work there in Copper Canyon. This organization is known as Compassion Copper Canyon, and they sterilize street dogs. They either trap them or are able to catch them and have them sterilized. And sometimes the animals are in bad shape and they will bring them back to the States if they can. And they partner with U.S. rescue groups, including Cherish Canines, who had a foster for Loki. And as you can see pictured there on the sofa there, and now Loki is mange-free, and she's at a healthy weight of 30 pounds and fully socialized, and she's available for adoption through Cherish Canines. Next slide, please. Max was a stray running in traffic back in December when Cherish Canines director Carla Baker was the one who actually was able to catch him. And tracking through a microchip that led to a second owner who no longer wanted Max, and they were willing to release Max to Cherish Canines. And then Max was adopted mid-January, as you can see pictured there. And pictured right is Toby and Luke, who were temporarily displaced when their owner died, and it didn't work out with the people who adopted Toby and Luke shortly thereafter. So Cherish Canines searched and went through their applications, and they found the right match with this wonderful family pictured here, who a young family who will give Toby and Luke a lot of attention. And they drove from out of town. They were so excited to adopt these two. Okay, next slide, please. Doñana County Humane Society helps a lot of people in our community, and I know Clint mentioned some of the programs in relationship to his reports, but here I'll emphasize their Animal Relief Fund, which Lucy, the dog pictured here, tore her ACL when she was while out on a walk with her owner, so was in need of immediate attention, and fortunately qualified for the R Fund, which helps with medical needs and also helps our community a lot with pet retention. Doñana County Humane Society also offers vouchers with $25 off the adoption fee of shelter animals for people who adopt pets who are seniors who adopt pets at our animal shelter, and they'll offer an additional $25 off if that pet is a senior. Doñana County Humane Society has been successful securing grants for funding their programs, and they also do a variety of fundraising like this virtual Valentine's Yappy Hour, which they held just a couple weeks ago. And next slide, please. The Humane Society of Southern New Mexico, in addition to the pet helpline work, which, and I say we because I'm on the board of HSSNM, we've assisted cat colony managers in the county with the transport of cats for sterilization. And we also have done a lot of return of pets through microchip scanning. We average anywhere from 2 to 5 animals a week that we help return through microchip scanning, that animals that come through our pet helpline. And we have some projects in the work right now. I think you know I'm the humane educator with HSSNM, and we've been trying different things in this COVID situation because I can't go to the classrooms. And so currently we're offering free craft kits. This is a January, February craft kit where the hitch to getting the free craft kit is that children and families need to view a very short story video, and in this case, just a 3-minute video. And the story is a Buddy Unchained, an award-winning story. And then the kids can receive a free craft kit. And so every month we're changing the theme, and we're also doing some fundraising projects like this all-occasion gift boxes here and embroidered shamrock magnets. These are things that we're promoting on our Facebook page. Okay, next slide, please. Yes, here we go. Okay, HSNM will be assisting Barkhouse with their microchip and vaccination event, which is coming up this Saturday. Okay, next slide, and this will be the last slide. February is Have a Heart for Chain Dogs Month, and this is when school children and just individuals can send Valentines if they'd like say the one pictured here, to residences that are identified by the national organization Dogs Deserve Better. They're residences that have been identified that have chain dogs. And it's an opportunity to give some awareness in hopes of convincing the owner to change their ways with chain and not chain their animal. And that's been part of our work with the Humane Society of Southern New Mexico with the story Buddy Unchained and offering the free craft kits. I thought you guys would like this comment that came from a little boy named Jordan who was awarded a craft kit after he and his family saw the story. And his message says, "My name is Jordan. I'm 9 years old and I live in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I love the story about Buddy. It reminds me of my dog. We rescued him from the shelter here. His name is Remy and he came from a bad home. He is happy now and he is loved very much." Well, thank you very much for your time and attention to the community report. And so I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments. Thank you.
Madam Chair, you're still on mute.
Thank you for seeing my lips moving. Something happened with my computer. I don't know, with Zoom. Did anybody else have that glitch? Strange, just came out of nowhere. Okay, thank you so much, Jean Gilbert, for your fantastic presentation and all your work. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Ms. Gilbert? Again, thank you, Jean, on behalf of all of us. It's always heartwarming and sometimes heart-wrenching. Thank you for all your work. Next, we'll move on to action items. Item 5, action item 5A is election of officers. Clint, were you able to resolve, or does anybody else on the board know whether we can have an election in absentia of any particular candidate? In this case, it would be Manny Sanchez for chair, potentially. Does anybody know if we can do that in absentia?
Well, I talked to Mr. Sanchez, Commissioner Sanchez. I talked to him yesterday, and I said, well, since you were nominated last meeting and you accepted that nomination, and that's on record, I said, if somebody nominates you this board meeting, per the JPA, had to be in February, then are you willing to accept it? And he said yes. And I said, well, will you please tell the chair that? So you told me earlier that he did contact you, Madam Chair, and that he would accept it. So
Yes.
I believe we're good to go if somebody makes that motion. So,
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Ellens, Commissioner Ellens.
it's the, in the rotation, it is required that the chair be from the county and the vice
Correct.
chair be from the city.
Correct.
Accordingly, I renominate Commissioner Sanchez as chair.
Thank you for the nomination of Commissioner Manny Sanchez for chair of this board. I second that. I can second that. May we have a roll call on that, Mr. Thacker?
Do we do them individually, roll call, or can we do the whole chair and vice chair together? Probably individually, huh?
Yes, individually.
Okay.
Individually,
All right.
yes.
Motion for Commissioner Sanchez to be the next chair of the Animal Service Center Mesilla Valley Board of Directors. Madam Chair Flores.
Yes.
Board Member Ellens.
Yes.
Board Member Stuve.
Yes.
Board Member Gondola.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It passes.
Great. And the next office is Vice Chair. And as Commissioner Allen's pointed out, the nominee has to be, or the position holder has to be from the city. So are there any nominations? Well, actually, is it appropriate for me to nominate Tessa, Councilor Beta-Stubbe?
Yes, I think it's
Yeah.
appropriate.
Yes.
I was just saying, yes, I believe it is appropriate for you to nominate somebody.
Oh, thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Clint, for being
I
a
second that.
sergeant.
I second
Thank
it.
you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to have, oh, God.
You accept the nomination.
Councilor Beta-Stubbe to the position of Vice Chair of this board.
Thank you. And I'll
Have a roll call on that? Do you accept?
accept
We're
the
going to vote on it, whether you accept or not. Okay. Thank you for accepting, Councilor Beta-Stubbe. May we have a roll call on that?
Yes, Madam Chair. Motion on the floor is for Vice Chair to be, Board Member Beta-Stubbe. So Madam Chair Flores.
Yes.
Board Member Ellens.
Yes.
Board Member Beta-Stubbe.
yes.
And Board Member Gondola.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Are there other offices up at this time?
The other one is past president. I believe it can be anybody that has been or past chair.
Ex officio, and so that would be Yvonne, Councilor Flores.
Ex officio to be on this board or to
No,
be
it's-
what?
Executive.
Yeah, it's on the executive committee. It's called past president or past chair.
Oh,
So,
executive.
That's
committee.
Yvonne.
Yes, that would be me.
okay.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
And I believe that's automatic. You don't need to be voted on that.
I think I do too, but
Everybody's shaking their heads. Yeah, I agree.
we all agree that we might all be wrong and we're okay with it.
So the next,
Unanimously.
Madam Chair, the next is is doing committees. So the executive committee is already set with the chair, vice chair, and the past chair. So the next ones we need to do are the facility committee and the finance committee. Now, in the ordinance, in the bylaws, it states that the finance committee and the facility committee have ex officio members in them. The finance committee, the chair has historically been the ex officio member of the city because the city handles all the finances for the ASCMV. So I have the chair down as the ex officio member Enriquez. And then automatically, per the bylaws, that puts the next officio member, which is Jeannie Quintero, that puts her in the member of the facility committee.
Oh, that puts her in facility.
So I guess what we need to do is to ask who's going to be the chair of the facility committee and then who's going to be members of both committees.
Do those, any of those have to be on a rotational basis to have full representation from to comply with the JPA, or I could just,
That I'm not
So-
100% sure on.
are there any self-nominations? Self-nominations?
Well, I will self-unnominate me for finance because I don't know anything about numbers.
Facilities, not finance.
No, facilities, Jean.
And I would prefer not to be the head of that, but I will be glad to be a part of it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll continue to be chair, that's fine.
Okay, so okay. And then Jean Quintero, and then there's a third person that should be on that committee, correct? All committees have 3 persons.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Allens?
I volunteer to be on that committee.
On the facility.
Facilities.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I don't do numbers.
So that leaves us with Board Member Trujillo is not on one. Executive, facility. So that just leaves her. So we want to put her on the finance?
Clint, we need somebody on the finance committee. We have, on the finance committee, we have the chair, but who are the other 2 members? Did I miss that?
So one's going to be Commissioner Trujillo.
Oh, Trujillo, okay.
Trujillo, yeah.
Uh-huh. And who's the other?
Well, you. You're not, well, you're on the executive committee for the past chair.
Oh,
So you're there. Board Member Ellens is on the facility. Board Member Trujillo is on finance. Board Member Gondra is on the facility. Board Member Stuve is vice president. And then both ex officio. So we have everybody. So somebody will have to, if you want 2 or 3 people in finance, somebody's going to have to do double duty.
I'll be on that finance committee.
Okay.
So, yeah, put me down.
Okay, so we have executive committee chair is the chair of that committee, and then vice president and past chair. The facility committee is chair is board member Gondra, ex officio member Janine Quintero, and Commissioner Ellens. Finance committee chair is ex officio member Enriquez, Commissioner Trujillo, and Councilor Flores is
It's okay.
members.
Welcome to my world.
So it looks like we have everybody. I will send emails out so everybody knows what they're on. Those on the facility meeting, Councilor or Madam Gondara, do you want to keep it just the first Thursday of every month?
I do, but can we move it to 9:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll send a Zoom invite out for that one.
It's purely self-serving. I need to get my yoga in.
That's just fine. And then the
I'm gonna
finance
start
committee,
joining
I'll
you.
work with Eric in getting a date on that. I know that he has his days fluctuating a little bit, so I'll get with him. And then I'll get with Commissioner Sanchez about a time for the chair for the executive committee meeting. I believe that's it.
Great. Thank you. We're all done. Now, do we have any public input?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have
Do you-
2 public input.
Okay. Now, do you have emails that you're going to read?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Or, great. Proceed. Thank you.
It says, is it true that with the state of COVID that owners who want to surrender the pets to the shelter have to sign a form agreeing to euthanize? I ask because I have seen more than one Facebook post saying that animal control is advising owners of this. And if it is not true, why are they saying this? So I can only answer the part about the shelter have to sign forms is we are not. You're not signing. If you're signing over an animal, it's not to euthanize an animal. What you're signing is that you're relinquishing all rights to the animal, and we let you know that the disposition is ours up to euthanasia, if we deem that fit. But it's not an automatic euthanasia order like somebody who's signing over their animal for euthanasia would sign. This is totally different. And this person, she sent me this individually and I responded to her. So it looks like she emailed both places. About animal control, I'm not going to comment on what animal control is advising or not. So that can be Gino or Jean.
Well, I can tell you from the county's perspective that we do not say that. In fact, we do our best to help people find alternative placements other than necessarily taking them over to the shelter. And we have been successful with that, but there's always some we can't help and they go to the shelter, but we never advise, and we are not a fan of euthanasia coming from the county. We will do everything we can and still don't even recommend that as a last resort coming from us.
And I can't comment directly on that because I don't know exactly what was said, but I can say that in the past that topic has been brought up. We're not saying that the animal is going to be euthanized. We may say that the animal may be euthanized, but again, that is at the discretion of the center, and that's at the final. That's the last thing that anybody wants done. So maybe interpretation there. Maybe euthanasia was said, and they believe that that is the only option.
Thanks, Gino.
So thank you, Mr. Officer Jimenez. Mr. Thacker, was that it? I thought you said there were two.
Yep, I have one more, Madam Chair, and it's a full page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So have patience with me as I read it. It says, hello, my name is Foster Schneider. I have a few concerns I'd like to address in this forum. We are currently in the middle of a COVID pandemic. People are struggling, and Las Cruces is primarily low income and or senior community. In my opinion, this is a difficult time to be raising the fees for adoption at the shelter. While I certainly appreciate a no-kill shelter and I understand their need for revenue, the flat fee of $50 to $75 seems to be reasonable. People are home more now. More pets could be adopted into loving homes, but they won't be if fees are out of reach for the majority of our community. The primary goal is to get the animals out of the shelters. Yes, adopting from a rescue is awesome and very needed, but not at the loss of an animal being pulled from a shelter. If fees continue to rise at the shelter, people will go to the rescues first. The shelters are wonderful support, taking animals out of the shelter, but the object is to get them out of the shelter as quickly as possible. I think what she meant to say there is the rescues are a wonderful support, taking animals out of the shelter. But I don't want to place words in her mouth, but I think that's what she meant. We need to keep the kill rate down at shelters. For the past several months, the shelter has been posting notices of animals in line to be euthanized due to lack of space. A $150 fee for an unaltered animal could open the door for animal breeding and selling of puppies. I do not agree with this at all. Spay and neuter should be a standard part of our adoption process and included in the adoption fee. You say the community is responsible for the overcrowding in the shelters, and I agree with you, but then you can't put the responsibility to do the right thing and spay neuter their animals on their own. I fear with this new rate hike and the perils of COVID in the economy, the shelter numbers will be worse. Our community, our state, our world is in a crisis right now. People at home can bring animals into loving environments, easing the strain on the shelters. I recently had an experience with a stray dog running at night. It had been adopted many months prior from the shelter. After we checked the chip info, I was told the owners had been told to bring the dog in to be fixed, but it never happened. The owner did eventually bring the dog in, had it fixed, and it was released back to the owner without question. I see more irresponsible people in this town than I do truly responsible animal owners. Perhaps rather than increasing rates, make it harder for people to adopt, try doing some incentives to encourage seniors and fosters to adopt. If you have an active foster that wants to adopt an animal they have been caring for, the fee would be minimal. Animals have been proven to be good for senior citizens. And now with so many families not being able to be together, a senior having an animal could be such a blessing. A senior adopting a senior animal. Please push incentives to encourage adoption, but don't hike fees to discourage it. Just to address some of the things in here, she states that a flat fee of $50 to $75 seems responsible. If you adopt an animal that's already sterilized from our shelter, then it would be $75. If you adopt an animal that's already sterilized and has been longer than 3 months, it'll be $50. So we're right in line. It seems that the bigger issue is the $150. And in here she says $150 for an unaltered animal could open the door for animal breeding and selling of puppies. I don't understand where or how that comes to conclusion. The $150 includes sterilization. So there's obviously some misconceptions there's some misunderstanding about what we're doing here. This was a big topic on Facebook. In one of the Facebook groups, it had over 130 comments, and I was answering questions the best I could. It got to the point where it was just ridiculous because nobody could know where anybody was saying stuff, because Facebook just does, the long list of replies. So what I did is I immediately called a meeting for Tuesday night. We invited all rescues, all fosters, all volunteers to come and let's talk about this instead of on a horrible platform like Facebook. So a Zoom invite was already sent out. So 7 p.m. So we did it late enough where dinner can be over with. If somebody from the East Coast wants to join, it's 9 o'clock there. It's not terribly late. And so we're able to talk about this and work through it. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about the fee, especially the unsterilized. People are thinking that we're just adopting out unsterilized animals and they're never going to get sterilized, and that's not true. Remember, the $150 includes the sterilization. And when I talked to our doctor yesterday, she stated it's been a long time since an animal has left the shelter adopted unsterilized. Usually they'll stay a night or two, and she can fit them into the surgery schedule. So that's encouraging to hear as well. And that's also why it's important. If we can get the vet on board, then we can get those guys in even sooner. So that's kind of my feedback on that one. I appreciate Foster Snyder's remarks. She does a lot for the center by fostering and getting the word out and animals out. So I respect whenever she brings things up, as with any of the rescue community. And I just like to talk through them before they get a huge, big deal like this got blown out to be. So we'll talk. But of note, we're doing really well for adoptions. We are right in line with 2019 February. We're about 30 or 40 below what it was in 2019. 2020, we had an outstanding February. It was 32% of all of our outcomes were adoptions, so 270 adoptions. And right now in February, from February 1st to today, we're at 106 adoptions. So we're kind of right in the middle there.
Great. Clint, how many of those, I received several emails in that regard as well. I think we all might have received the same. But, and so I'm glad you're addressing the issue because there is a lot of confusion. Yeah. And so thank you for replying to this gentleman, or excuse me, this lady, to Foster Snyder and perhaps to others. But is there any way, because there was a lot of outrage, and there were a couple, I don't know if you received it too, Clint. I didn't even bother. I didn't bother, and shame on me maybe, but oh well. I might not have forwarded it to you. It was just almost obscene, horrible language, just really accusing us of being inhumane, to say nothing of this person's, and yet this person was being very, very rude, very crude. And, we all wear leather, we're in the public eye, and we're used to being criticized for just about anything. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't type of thing. So I'm very glad that you read this letter and this email or letter, and that you addressed it. Is it possible to have PSAs or anything in the newspaper on a repeated basis about adoptions? I don't know if there's a public service type of thing that our local news, our bulletin, or the Las Cruces Sun News would do. I think a PSA on the radio would probably be okay. I mean, it would be something we could do for free. But I wonder, do newspapers do that to just really run that and just lay it out just the way you did, 175 if not neutered, $50 if whatever, 175 if already neutered, 150 if not neutered, and then explain, because I think if I recall, there's an option to neuter the same day that they adopt if they're not neutered yet, or they can come back with a voucher that's issued.
It's the same foster to adopt program where
right.
Yeah, it's not, the adoption is not finalized until the sterilization happens, but
Right.
we're really trying to get animals out of that. In fact, I got an email that we're around to about 20 to 25 animals are left in that program, which is phenomenal. If you remember the beginning of last year, we were around 180 animals that were in that program. So what the whole purpose is to get out of that program. We don't, because like I said, 40% of the animals that go in never return to get sterilized. So this is a hope that people will get away from unsterilized animals, adopt the ones that are already sterilized, allowing that number in the foster to adopt to go down, which is working. Then once that program is empty and gone, then all those spots that would be saved, we can now start introducing public spay and neuter. We can do more shelter animals for that type of thing. That's the whole drive behind this.
Yes, but if we could just keep putting it on our public radios, maybe, I don't know, KRWG for that audience, on, all the local stations, and regularly run. And I think, and something in the newspaper that appears from time to time, the same thing, just like, I don't know, public notice or something where we could just let people know exactly what they would be, and then people would be opting for the lower amounts, to pay less, because all the emails I've received say, we're a low-income community, people are not going to pay $150, but and they're recommending the amounts that should be there, and they actually come out to about, they say maybe $50. So there's different ways that people can adopt.
And that's the funny thing is, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm totally agree.
Go ahead.
I'm totally agree that $150 is a lot for this community. That's why we don't want you to adopt them.
Right.
We want you to adopt the sterilized animal.
Right.
So, and that's the whole drive behind it. So.
Right. And I think when you lay it out, just the numbers and I think the whys and wherefores will be, or maybe they're not self-explanatory. Maybe it has to be broken down to explain the rationale, and and it makes me happy, however, in spite of the crude and lewd language, it was actually lewd language used in that one email, and a lot of concern and criticism from other emails. It makes me happy that they care enough. So, that's good. That's good.
I think going forward, what we'll do is Jess Williams, a former board member, past chair, Worked with the county, retired, and he works for the Bulletin now, I believe. So for a little while, he's going to retire there too. But I will reach out to him, see if we can't get something in the paper.
Jess?
And also,
Jess Williams?
Jess Williams.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I also have connections with some of the radios, so maybe I'll get on, do some radio spots, and we can talk. I know that Holly does our Pet of the Week with the radios, and she talks about the adoption price as well. So we'll start incorporating those things and see if we can word out more.
Yeah. And then Holly can do it now. Now it's not Jennifer Martinez for our council meetings. Holly can do that too.
Yeah.
She can do a quick and just get it out there. Get it out there all the time. Just make it a regular, just make it a regular announcement and educate our people our population who does care about our little critters. Thank you very much, Clint.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So next is the chair and board comments. Hello?
None for me, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, because I couldn't see, and I don't have my bar, so I can't. Well, okay, so none from, and I don't see anybody's hands up, but that doesn't mean they're not up. Okay. So I don't see anybody's hand up and oh, there you go.
There we go. I was muted. Ms. Gilbert earlier complimented Clint on the program, and I totally agree with everything that she said. But as we look back, remember Commissioner Garrett is really the one that started to put this program in place. And we owe a debt of gratitude to him as well.
Yes. Thank you so much, Commissioner Ellens, for that. We miss Gary. We miss Garrett very much. We miss Billy. So thank you, Mr. Ellens. So any other board comments? I do have a couple of requests, Mr. Thacker. If we could also, well, maybe this is for more like Mr. Enriquez. So I should probably, well, anyway, he might be back on, I don't know. But we really need to get that information regarding the animal ordinance, the changes to the that are being in process right now. For yes, Madam, proceed.
As I know you weren't at the last task force meeting, but we decided we worked a lot on the resolution.
Okay.
And the piece of TNR for the ordinance, and it will come to our our work session. Did I say the 8th?
Yes, you did. March 8th.
So
is that the final draft that will come to us on March 8th? Or
yes.
Are we working on it at the task?
Yes. No, that's the final draft that will come March 8th. For comment and direction. And we have strategized to have Clint and 2 task force members help with the presentation to really give a good introduction and sort of discussion points related to the most important, which is TNR. And the reason, as you know, that we feel this way is, it will be at least a couple of months to get that ordinance to where it, presented to council with the first read, second read, making comment. We thought that we could save a lot of lives if we did this TNR resolution first. Because conceivably, it could be ready to go within a week's time and we can move back into what we're doing. But I do want to say that we were really clear that there needed to be a data right, evaluation component to that, where we're collecting data and evaluating our process, that there needs to be deterrence and resources, especially if we're going to move in this direction. That's it. Thank you.
So, thank you. And thank you very much for the update on that. And I just wanted to, so the task force is not meeting again, the ordinance. Okay, so it's all done as it can be. And then there might be some more, whatever, after that first work session.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Other counselors and maybe the public, and definitely the public. Okay, and thank you. And then I also wanted to share with you Jerry Willis, who sits on our the ordinance task force. She had an incident where there was a coyote that had been apparently hit by a car that was ailing and in horrible pain, and was told by the Animal Services Center. I did place a call to Clint, so he's totally familiar with this. This happened about 2 weeks ago, and on a Saturday morning, and the animal shelter said, or services center said that no, they don't take care of coyotes because it's wildlife. When she called the USDA people, they said, they said nothing because they're closed on weekends. Ultimately it was resolved. And after, she was in tears, understandably. And so I would like to propose to this board or to the powers that be that this crossover jurisdictional thing be taken care of, and also find out if there's alternative numbers for the USDA, or in the event they're not available, where there's wildlife on private property or, someone's residence, what we can do for the animal and for the resident. So I just wanted to put that out there. Clint, I don't know where we go from there, or Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, but somehow if we could just come up, at least open the discussion with USDA. And because we as a city have a contract with them as well. And it'd be good for the county also to know. So anyway, so I just want to put that up.
Gino has his hand up. I believe he wants to comment.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Gino.
Madam Chair, I was really, I was aware of that situation that came up. It was a coyote that got hit by a car. I believe it had 2 broken front legs. Initially, the call did go to USDA Wildlife Services. Recently signed a contract or MOU with the city through the police department, and they are to address all wildlife issues within the city of Las Cruces. Initially, or years past, that MOU was only for predatory animals. However, they've changed it to include all wildlife within the city of Las Cruces that poses a threat to the residents. Unfortunately, the dollar amount didn't go up, but their calls for services greatly did, because now they are not only addressing coyotes, they're addressing skunks, raccoons, all sorts of wildlife that are not protected by New Mexico Game and Fish. So even though the dollar amount didn't go up, their calls for service actually did. Unfortunately for them, they only have 1 full-time agent assigned to this district. And that is basically the whole southwest section of corner of New Mexico. So they're pretty, their manpower is pretty low.
Yeah.
So for them to be able to respond to calls like that is going to take a long time. And typically they work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with weekends and holidays off. So we assist in any way that we can, because of course, a call within the city, we're going to have a much quicker response time. We're going to have that handling ability already training ability already. So we will assist. And in this case, an ACO was able to go over there and impound the animal. As far as I know, I don't know whether it was taken to the service center for euthanasia, but I believe if an animal was presented to the center like that in that state, the humane thing would have been to put it down, and I believe that they did. And I hope that they did. I'm not sure about the final end of that call, but that's just a little background information as far as USDA, Wildlife Services.
Yeah, but, so thank you for that background information and the follow-up to that story, to that incident. But I maybe I misunderstood Ms. Wheelis, but I believe she said that she did call animal. Didn't I say that? I was reading from my notes. Anyway, I believe she did call, our ACO people. Or was it just the animals services?
Madam Chair, if I remember right, you told me on Saturday morning that it was dispatch that you called.
And that,
No, that Jerry called?
No,
You mean-
yeah, that she called dispatch, and dispatch said that it needs to go to wildlife.
Right. Yeah, so, yeah. But Gino somehow is saying that on the weekends, the ACOs, our city ACOs jump in, help out when there's a critically injured animal.
Madam Chair, and that's correct. Most of our calls for service go through central dispatch, unless it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and they call directly to our office here at the Public Safety Center. But that may be something that I can clarify with central dispatch, that if it is a wildlife call and the wildlife services are not available, then we come in as a secondary agency to assist.
Oh, well then, Officer Jimenez, if I understood what you just said, you can take care of this problematic situation by your making a phone call?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that I can get some clarification with central dispatch so that they know who the proper agency is to call.
Great. Oh, wonderful, because it was really, and there was nothing she could do. I mean, she did say if I had a gun, I would kill it. It was just to put that poor animal out of its pain. It was just agonizing. And she was crying actually. So, it was quite distressing. So that'll be very helpful for everyone concerned, because we are, we've talked about this before. We have more and more encroachment because there's more and more development going out there. And those poor little animals, it makes me so sad. So that's good to know, Gino. I really appreciate that. So let us know. Maybe you can send an email to Clint. He could send everything out to the board. Bernice can let us know what the outcome was of that, to be clear. And when we, especially, and then we'll maybe put a PSA or a newspaper article out for our public to know that there is that cross-jurisdictional assistance.
I really like that idea, Councilor Flores. Madam Chair, I think that's an excellent idea.
You can call me Yvonne. It's okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. I want to thank all of you for being a wonderful board. And my apologies for always stumbling. And believe me, this is just my style. I tend to just stumble through everything in life. And you know what? I've made it so far, kind of, sort of. But I want to thank all of you. It's been a pleasure serving as your chair this past year. And with that, and thank all of you.
Thank you for your service, Madam Chair. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Councilor. So with that, if there are no further comments or whatever, I call for adjournment. Or if there's no objection, I hereby call this meeting, I declare it adjourned. No objections, therefore we are now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See you
Bye-bye.
next month.
Thank you. Okie dokie.